There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Well, hello, BookTube. It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been 2 weeks, actually. And here I am with lots to tell you. Oh, my God. I have the blind up a little bit with the window wide open because I'm hot and sweaty after my shower and whatnot, getting gussied up for this video. What's the temperature outside? They said it's -9, feels like -16. Well, that's the kind of air I need right now to cool down. So if I do cool down, I'll lower the blinds and the lighting will get back to regular. How you doing? I'm doing great. I have news. Let's see. Before I get into my really great personal news, stand by. I have one update on my Patreon account, which is that one of my Story Seeker subscribers, Melanie, has upgraded her Patreon status, her tier, to Bibliophile Besties, which was an absolute delight. Thank you so much, Melanie. Melanie lives in... I didn't actually ask her what details about her that I could share with y'all, so I will just say her name is Melanie. She was on the one of the Christmas party videos that you might have seen, and whatever she said there is what she wants you to know about where she is. So thank you so much, Melanie. Means a lot. Two pieces of great personal news. Kenji's and I'm sponsoring him as my spouse to come to Canada. The application got the pre-approval notification from Immigration Canada, whatever that department is currently called, which means that it's basically going to be accepted. I don't think they really ever reject a spousal application unless they think that you're only fake married. So that's good news. I think it just means a couple months to dot the I's and cross the T's and all that. They've sent a supplemental request for me for an update on my employment situation, which there isn't much of an update, but I will provide it. And yeah, things are in progress, so that's great. Kenji's personal stuff that he's sorting out may delay it past when the visa is ready, but hopefully not by more than a few minutes, because I am going out of my mind, to be honest. It's been too long to be separated, so I hope he gets here as soon as possible. I haven't mentioned him for a while, but I think a few of you, some of you privately have said you were wondering, because there was no mention of Kenji, how things were, and while there hadn't been an update, now you know. And the other excellent news, oh my God, my cough just didn't ever improve to my satisfaction. I was still coughing just way too much to the point where it was feeling like a disability. So I broke down and ordered the magic pills that I was on in Japan for 3 years, I think it was 3 years, that completely eradicated the cough. I didn't know when I was in Japan that you didn't need a prescription for them, or that I had a prescription for them. So I could order them from a Japanese pharmacy, and they shipped them to me by, not FedEx, but something like that, EMS. The first shipment, I was nervous because it's a drug that's not available in Canada, so I didn't know if customs would allow it through. And it sat in customs in Vancouver for 9 days, and I was thinking, oh, they're not going to accept it, they're going to send it back. But no, they were just backlogged. They accepted it after 9 days, and I got it the next day, and it hadn't even been tampered with or opened or anything. So the second shipment has cleared customs in 45 minutes yesterday. So I am stocked up with coughing pills, and my cough is gone, 95%. I cough about as much as an ordinary person of my age might cough, which is very little, 5 or 6 times a day, and not productive, if you know what I mean. And that is such a huge difference in my life and quality of life, I cannot begin to tell you. Don't have to do quite so much editing of my videos, for one. So I am just feeling pretty good these days. And one more thing that I definitely want to tell you about is, there might be 2 of you out there that didn't already know this. BookTube's own Katie Lumsden of Books and Things, her novel published, it actually dropped in North America a few weeks ago, I'm pretty sure, but it's now, her pub date in the UK was yesterday, The Secrets of Heartwood Hall. And a lot of booktubers, here is a photo that Roz of Scally Dowling took, she was there, went to the book launch. And so congratulations, Katie. I am really looking forward to reading it. I'm on a waiting list of about, if you happen to be watching this, Katie, I am on a waiting list for the audiobook at the library, and a month ago, I think I was put in position 30 in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada to get to your audiobook, so that's a good sign. Congratulations, Katie. Here's the 2 weeks in review. Been a little bit busy on BookTube and Patreon, so here you go. Who I had never heard of. So let's look him up. Born in 1955 in Karachi. Wikipedia calls him a Pakistani critic and short story writer. He moved to London in 1970. This new biography. Do let's have another drink. The Dry Wit and Fizzy Life of Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother by Gareth Russell. Just the title. I mean, I will still give it probably 4 stars if the book itself is crap, just for that title.
We haven't talked about much gay stuff yet, so let's get into the gay stuff. So the vagabonds, tell me about who are the vagabonds and how do the queer characters fit into that category?
Okay, so the vagabonds in this book are the queer people that have been marginalized, people that are living in the cracks between the cities, people that are living the underground life.
Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawlor, an American writer, and they have written a book here about I guess I'm assuming a gay man who ends up shape-shifting, and so queer trans adventures ensue. How many people pass through life undiscovered, like those moths, or like summer annuals, fleeting, weightless, almost invisible, ashamed they even exist, for no one will miss them, removing almost all traces of themselves after their gossamer-like existences. With such thoughts, Sarah sat down on the bed. Well, that sounds Eastern European vaguely, doesn't it? This sounds very intriguing. Quaint tourist village, and he's got a bunch of family issues and an unrequited love going on in his life. And then there's a government-sponsored program called the Wild Home Project, where live wild animals, wolves, rats, minks, and so on, are moved into the villagers' homes. So it's, but they're not talking animals, I don't think, because I don't think I could deal with that. But anyway, so the premise of it is wacky, but it's Carrie Fagan. So if anybody could pull it off, he could. They get out of bed and they go to a train station. Emile gets onto a train. Isabel does not. She stands on the platform and she watches him go. He is going back to the city. He will make puppets and films of puppets, and he will try to say something he does not have the words for. She will stay in the town. She will stay and work in a grocery store until she works up the courage to do something more. It is a story about what comes after a love story. Well, that totally hooks me. Can't wait to try it. I am fascinated with Haida Gwaii. I've never been there. I really want to go. This story makes me all the more eager to. Please enjoy. The Bel Air Beach Bar Roundup by Sheila Peters. Chloe inhales the salt-washed Queen Charlotte Islands air and pretends it's cigarette smoke flowing into her lungs, sending treacherous fingers out into the bronchial trees, slipping into all the tiny plural sacs to sow seeds for the flowering of tumors. All right, so I have so much to tell you that I don't really know how to begin here, but I guess I'll begin with the bail. I shockingly bailed on this Lucy Caldwell novel. Not shockingly, because it had mixed reviews, but I love Lucy Caldwell's short stories, and I couldn't get into this at all. I bailed within about 60 pages, 73 pages. This was a buddy read with Jo Smith, and she didn't have problems with it particularly, but I did. I've read so many good novels about World War II, and this one was just fair to middling and kind of hum-ho, fairly flat characters, and it just didn't grab me at all. It didn't feel historical. There was something about the time period didn't quite hit me. It felt info-dumpy, which was different from giving you a vivid sense of place and time. So, life's too short. I left Jo in the lurch and she forgave me on the spot. So this was a flop. Only one bail in 2 weeks, not bad, hey? I'm sorry to disappoint you. I should have had more, although I have one pre-bail to tell you about in a minute. Goodness, how many have I finished? I have finished 4. I can't find the novella. It's here, but I can't find it, and I didn't want to take more time because I got a busy day here. So here's the cover gif. I finished the Welsh novella The Small Mind by Menna Gallie. I think it was published in 1962. And this was to be a pseudo-buddy read with Kieran of Katie Books. I bailed on the pseudo-buddy read, the Zoom chat, 20 minutes before, because it wasn't until 20 minutes before that I watched his review video and he hated it. And I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. But mostly loved it. And I just didn't know how to have a discussion with such polar opposites. So we're negotiating. I'm not sure if the Zoom chat's ever going to happen, but he compared it and found it quite lacking to a Welsh classic, How Green Was My Valley, by Richard Llewellyn, which is a book I've had on my shelf forever and I very much want to read. So the last thing I suggested to Kieran is that we might, next year, read that one, and I would reread the Menna Gallie, The Small Mind, and we could have a compare and contrast discussion. As a Welshman, Kieran thought it was not accurate or didn't fit his picture of that era and that time and that life. So I'm not a Welshman. I'm barely a man. And I thought it was really vivid with characters that really jumped off the page and quite a beautiful portrait of a small Welsh village, mining village, and all the things to do with the mining industry and this danger of that and the relationships and the position of women. And I thought it was quite a significant, in fact, it was probably the best Welsh novel I've read, with the possible exception of Country Dance by Margaret Evans. I thought it really was right up there. So with 20 minutes notice of the fact that we had such a polarized opinion, I just bailed on the chat, but it may happen at some point. Stay tuned. I don't think I have anything else to say about the novel, but I'm really glad I read it, and I would definitely read more by Menna Gallie. Menna Gallie died in 1990. She was about 70, 71, and she wrote quite a few novels. I think most of them are quite short. I will read more of them, perhaps not as a buddy read with Kieran. And I also finished Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, and I pretty much hated it by the end. I didn't give a star rating because I just don't when it's an Indigenous writer or otherwise marginalized writer, but it devolved into what it was advertised as being, which was a horror novel. And I hate horror novels, I hate genre fiction, and this just reaffirmed that I shouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole, because it got so silly. The characters just disappeared into horror novel conventions. I hated it so much, despite enjoying what there was of Cree spiritual beliefs. That was interesting, but it was layered over the most disgusting horror novel genre bullshit that I barely could finish it. So that happened. I wasn't even going to tell y'all that I read this, but I'm gonna, because that's silly not to, but you don't care about it. This is a book about the Queen Elizabeth's funeral by a Canadian monarchist journalist. Leah and I buddy read it. I got a copy from the library, and it was so-so. Enough said. I am going a little bit fast because I don't have time to edit a 50-minute video today. I just don't. So my reviews are going to be shorter than usual. I read Oldladyvoice by Elisa Victoria, a Spanish writer, translated from the Spanish by Charlotte Whittle, and I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really like it. I mean, there was things about it I liked, but it dragged, and I didn't really want to be stuck in that precocious 9-year-old's head as long as I had to for a 270-page novel, but I didn't hate it. There was things about it I quite liked, but it was a book that I could put down and never pick up again at any point that I was reading it, and that, that's a 3-star book for me. Bernie of Bernie Lombardi on Instagram fame, and I had a pseudo buddy read, so that video's in the pipeline, but you probably won't see it till Christmas. All right, so that's what I finished. I have started way too many. 2 weeks is a long time, so I had to go back to my last Friday reads to figure out what I've started since then. So I have started this Canadian novel, but, well, is it Canadian? The author lives in the UK, it's set in ancient Rome, but she grew up in Canada. It hardly makes it a Canadian novel. Anyway, I'm gonna start another fight about what is Canadian literature, but You Should Not Be Afraid of This Guy by Emma Hooper. It's on the Carol Shields long list. I'm enjoying it, but I haven't had much time to dip into it, for obvious reasons, if you keep watching the video. But yeah, I'm doing it as an audio text combo. The audio is really good. I like the writing. It's unusual writing, and I think her writing style is like that. Her writing style is unusual, period. It's about 9, what would it be for 9? 9 uplets that were born in ancient Rome, and the mother, who's upper class or whatever, she can't deal with 9 babies, so she orders her maid or whatever to kill them, drown them. The maid can't do it. 2 of them just die naturally or something, and the rest of them are adopted out in the community, but they are sisters, 7 sisters, same age. The story goes from there. Lemons are a big part of the story. I have started the short story collection God Isn't Here Today by Francine Cunningham, also on the Carol Shields long list. Francine Cunningham is an Indigenous writer who is colonially located in Canada, and the story's starting out good but not great. Oh my god, this is a scream, Big Swiss by Jen Beagin. This is the one that's captured my interest the most. I've read 2 chapters, so it's early days, but doing this as an audio text combo, and it is just weird and funny, and yet there's something that's pulling me in deeper. So as I said before, this lesbian in Hudson Valley, some little city, is it called Hudson? I don't know. She lives there, and she's a she's a therapy transcriptionist. She transcribes the local sex therapist's therapy sessions, and it's a small little town, so when she goes out to Starbucks, she recognizes all the voices around her and knows all about their problems, and she gets obsessed with a Swiss lesbian who's tall, Big Swiss, and the story goes from there. But she's got a wacky roommate living in a really ancient house built in this 18th century, and there's a beehive in the living room, and various other strange things going on, but it's really propulsive, wacky, and there's something deeper that's grabbing me at the get-go, so wow. I read the first story in this collection of Welsh short stories, Rhapsody and Other Stories by Dorothy Edwards, published in the 30s, I think, and I hated it. It was so stupid. Dorothy Edwards spent much of her adult life living abroad, living in Europe and this and that, and I don't think any of these stories are going to be set in Wales. She came home at the end of her short life to look after her widowed mother, but I don't think she really was interested in or inspired by Wales. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I kind of pick up. This story was kind of set, oh god, it was so stupid I don't even want to take the time to tell you about it, but some English woman meets I don't even know what nationality, this man that's kind of odd, and then he invites her to come to his estate for the weekend with his sickly wife and young boy, and then he's interested in music, and then they go to some vacation spot, all of them plus a nanny, and it was just so badly written and such flat characters. I'm gonna give it one more story and then it's a bail, but I'm predicting this is a pre-bail announcement. I've started Ivan the Terrible by Henri Troyat, or Troyat. This is an early start for people April. This is a buddy read with Heidi, and Ivan was terrible. The first 3 chapters were fantastic. I will be very interested to read more about his life, which I already know got terribler and terribler. I finally, I had to cancel my order and order it from Amazon to get it, but I finally started Battle Songs. Daša, Drndić's, I believe it's her debut. It's an early novel anyway. And I neglected to say, this is for a pseudo buddy read with Dan, formerly of the Weird Book Club. Translated from the Croatian by Celia Hawksworth. I think this has also been published in English under its original title, which looks to me to be Italian, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but it wasn't written in Italian, but the Italian title, which is some editions in the English, are Canzone di Guerra, which I think means battle songs, I'm not sure. And I haven't got very far into it. I'm on page 34. Like Drndić's Trieste, it's dense, very interesting, and this is about a bunch of people from this part of the world, Serbo-Croatian folk, that leave the war situation there and come to Canada, and they get to Canada as refugees, and imagine what they found. They found that Canada isn't very accepting of immigrants, and, you know, it's a pretty cruel place and really, really racist. It's a book right up my street. And finally, I am reading here's the ugly library book. I am reading Jean Rhys's novel, Voyage in the Dark, to Alina, one of my Bibliophile Bestie patrons, and it's really great. I'm about maybe a quarter of the way into it, having a really good time reading it and discussing it with Alina. So this is her 1934 novel. This is literary fiction. What am I doing reading all this other stuff? Oh, no, that wasn't the last one. I haven't even got this onto my Goodreads. I got so many things going on right now, I can't even keep my Goodreads updated. Because I realized this library book is due on Sunday. Today's Friday, so I took it down when I had a doctor's appointment yesterday morning, and in about 30 minutes I read 60 pages. Ducks by Kate Beaton. It won some embarrassing reality TV show award. What's it called? Survivor or some stupid thing. I hate reality TV. Anyway, we won't waste any more time talking about reality TV bullshit, but Ducks is a graphic memoir by Kate Beaton. I was sucked right in for 60 pages. I will easily finish it up by Sunday. It has already hooked me emotionally, and it's really, really well done. I don't look at the pictures, of course, because who's got time for that? But the text is interesting. All right. With all that's going on, and no, shall not be disclosing how many current reads I have at the moment, I am starting a whole swack of books. Whee! This is a buddy reader, and I didn't ask this buddy reader's permission to use her first name, so I won't yet, but I might tell you that later. This is a Scottish debut novel that I'm so excited to be reading. My buddy reader is traveling to Scotland later this year, so that's why I suggested this as our first buddy read. It is called Ginger and Me by Elisa. Soave? Let's see.
To Mark chatting with the lovely Elissa Soave. Elissa Soave.
Oh, okay, I didn't know how to pronounce her name at all. It's Elissa Soave. I think when I looked it up on YouTube, I just think I saw it on a video of Scott's of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. Of course he's already read it. I haven't yet, and I'm looking forward to diving in. Elissa Soave, it's her debut novel. She lives in South Lanarkshire. And she looks middle-aged, which I'm always here for middle-aged writers. Debut novel, middle-aged or elderly writers. So it's about a 19-year-old Scottish girl. What else do we need to know, really? Fabulous title, fabulous cover. Even with that ugly orange, it just works somehow for this particular cover, don't you think? So April, I'm going to be all consumed by two fabulous readathons. People April and Trans Girl April. So my TBR videos for both of them will be in the show notes. I won't put the hosts videos in the show notes because I don't think I'm going to have room. But click on my TBR videos for those links to the host videos. Here's what I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be starting the Mary Wesley biography for People April. This is also on my list of books that if I don't read them this year, I'm going to unhaul them. So let's get this one started. And because it's going to be short and snappy, I hope. Anyway, I think I'm going to really enjoy it. The memoir by Robert Liddell, Elizabeth and Ivy, about his friendship and literary associations with the British novelists Elizabeth Taylor and Ivy Compton Burnett. Robert Liddell was Barbara Pym's best friend. For Trans Girl April, I got to get started on this fairly chunky library book, which is also on the Carol Shields long list, When We Were Sisters by Fatimah Asghar. And because it's chunky, I'm going to get started on this one too for Trans Girl April. Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawlor. And this is going to be a buddy read with Joe Smith that we're going to get started on in the coming week. And that is Little Blue Encyclopedia for Vivian by Hazel Jane Plant, which I'm very much looking forward to getting to. All right. Oh my God. Books galore. Thanks for watching.